Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. In today's module, we are going to talk about urban ecology. This is the third part of the modules on urban ecology. In today's module, we will talk about biodiversity in urban areas. And this module will spend some time talking about the causes of the reduction of the species and also about the species that have started using urban structures as their habitats. In the earlier two modules, we spent some time discussing about the green patches in urban areas, the importance and threats to the green patches of the urban areas, and we also discussed about the urban commons and their importance in the urban areas. We move further to the next topic, which talks about urban biodiversity. Biodiversity is a word usually used for the variety of or the types of plants and animals or insects species found in a particular area. Biodiversity is different in different areas and differs from climate to climate and also landscape wise. All the species found in a particular area have their own importance and play an essential role in the ecology. Also, the more the biodiversity, we can determine the productivity of the ecosystem and its contribution to the larger environment, as the effects are not local but affect the global level too. In this module, we shall discuss in detail about the biodiversity found in urban area and how it differs from the controlled green patch setting like in gardens and lawns, and uncontrolled areas like urban forests or in areas where natural growth of trees and plants are found. It would also include in detail discussing about the water bodies that are an essential part of the urban areas, playing an important role in the environment and life they support. As diverse India is in its customs, traditions, cultures, languages, etc., equally diverse it is in the species of its flora and fauna. India falls in tropic zones with rich soil and rain. India is also home to a diverse range of climates where there is desert, high peaks with snowfall, rich with alluvial soil and rain. The eastern coast of India, rich and thick evergreen forest in the northeast and the rain-fed south and western India with biodiversity hotspot Western Ghats cutting across. India has seen growing urbanization since the development of industries. Post-independence India followed the same path of development as the British, and the industrialization is full-fledged and cities are growing. With recent development in India, the metropolitan cities will be developed as smart cities and infrastructure development would be the objective of these cities. It is hence essential that we understand the environment around us and the biodiversity that our neighborhoods are home to. This module would try to discuss the complex settings that the urban areas are home to. The objective of the module shall be to have a broader understanding of the life that we see around us and its complexity. Urban ecology refers to the pattern of species occurrence, distribution of habitats, and the biodiversity that is found in these spaces and habitats. Further, in this module, we will first start with the understanding of the various strata of biodiversity like microorganisms, plants, insects, birds and animals. India is rapidly urbanizing, and in the coming years it is expected that 50% of country's population would be living in the cities. This means that more and more demand for land and place to live and more of the green areas shall be compromised to provide for the growing city. There is a vast variety of biodiversity found in the cities, and also there are examples and circumstances where the urban buildings have provided a place to live and grow for many species. Urbanization and biodiversity. Urbanization is inevitable and has major impacts on its surroundings. As discussed in the first part on urbanization, urban sprawl and other issues that are accompanied with urbanization have major impacts on the green patches. Urbanization also has great impacts on the water bodies that are found in the cities and the biodiversity that is found. Through urbanization and urban development, though urbanization and urban development is responsible for one of the greatest extinctions of the species, it also keeps frequently eliminating the majority of native species of trees, which are replaced by the exotic species of trees which do not support as wide range of biodiversity as the native species would. This affects the biodiversity found in cities of insects and birds who would reside and live on those plants and trees. Hence, urban development and biodiversity are very much interlinked. The picture that you have just seen on the screen presents a panoramic view of Bangalore's peri-urban areas which are witness to growth and development. The two lakes in the image, one which can be seen far away in the left corner, and one which is prominent has already been started to be reclaimed to pave way for development. Urbanizing Bangalore and other cities in India has always posed a threat to gardens, urban forests, lakes, and other water bodies and green patches. As we have earlier discussed, when urbanization takes place, large areas of wetlands, agricultural lands, wastelands, etc. are covered into concrete buildings, gardens, parking lots, etc., changing the earlier landscape into a completely different landscape. As the urbanization increases, the urban sprawl increases, and the patches where the biodiversity can be found shrinks and gets divided into patches. These patches are home to various insects, plants, animals, birds, aquatic life, but the gene pool of these organisms is limited to the green patches they live in. There is no interaction among the other species that live in other places, and this also leads to the organisms to have a smaller niche and lesser resistance and adaptability. These green patches and water bodies not only shrink in size but are highly polluted and gets heavily impacted due to the increase in the temperature and changes in the climatic patterns. These impacts also are transformative for the ecosystems, and there are no means for that system to come back to its original state. For example, the mangroves that are converted for prawn cultivation and salt pans is transformation of the system, and the system shall not go back to its previous state again. In an ecosystem, there are some factors like a feedback loop and resilience. Both is determined by the number of species in the ecosystem and the kind of species that are present. The more the species, the higher the resilience, as the feedback loop is also stronger. Feedback loop plays an important role in the natural selection. Feedbacks are of two types, positive feedback and negative feedback, and on the basis of the feedback, the species adapt themselves to the changing conditions. If a species get a negative feedback for a particular characteristic that they have, then they adapt and change the characteristic, and the other characteristics which get a positive feedback are developed and enhanced. For example, the monarch butterfly has developed its appearance to that of a honeybee. This is an example of mimicry in natural selection example. These adaptations help the butterfly protect itself from predators who would not feed on honeybees. Resilience can be understood as resilience is the long-term capacity of a system to deal with change and continue to develop. The system survives the shocks and imbalances that the system faces in the process. Shocks can be man-made changes or natural changes that affect a system. There are many such incidences which are temporary, like floods, in which the system shows resilience to an extent, but if the whole system is chopped off and buildings and concrete roads come there, the system becomes completely non-resilient and a new system is formed. The species that are lost and then found later are different, and the system type is completely different from the system it was prior to the change. The urban-rural patterns of biodiversity. It is probably intuitive to even the most casual observer that the increasing fragmentation of natural habitat by human disturbances in the direction towards urban centers will lead and will tend to reduce species richness in that direction. Urbanization in its intensity is one of the most unstable systems and are not an equilibrium with the local environment and nature and other species that were present in the same place. Urbanization is the homogenizing activity of all major human activities today. Cities homogenize the physical environment the way that is best suited to meet the relatively narrow needs of just their own. Cities are maintained by the imposing vast resources of energy and materials that are not locally found or cultivated. Consequently, as cities expand across the planet, biological homogenization increases because the same urban adaptable species become increasingly widespread and locally abundant in cities across the planet. In rural setup, the energy consumption is much less than a city, and hence the local dependence on conservation is high. Also, the species there have a vast area to grow and be protected and resilient. The system in a village or rural areas are much more resilient and stronger than that of urban areas. Rural areas, diverse species higher in numbers, and local species are abundant. Urban areas, homogenized, lower in number population species, and homogenizing species are higher as only a few can adapt to the changing environment and are away from the local or native species of flora and fauna. In rural areas, another reason why the species flourish is because there is minimal level of disturbance that is created. Biodiversity found among urban water bodies. Let's look at different urban bodies and urban water bodies and look at what are the biodiversity aspects of these water bodies. Wells are present in every city. A city before becoming cities were villages where the main source of water was wells and not pipelines that travel for kilometers and kilometers with pure and safe drinking water. Today there are wells that still exist in the cities and the water is mainly used for the purpose not for drinking. These wells were private and public and were usually having a temple around it as it was a sacred place because it was a source of drinking water, that is source of life. Today, with increasing urbanization and the changing of life patterns and the notions of upscale living, the wells are no more considered as important and have been disappearing, as also stated by Hita Unnikrishnan and Harini Nagendra in their paper Open Wells and Urban Resilience. They in their paper mention about an experience that they had with a friend who said that disappearing wells were a good sight, and they also mentioned that, quote, the comment exemplified the mindset of an urban population that has become reliant on piped water supply. The availability of piped water 24/7 often leads to the perception of traditional water storage, supply and recharge structures such as open wells as useless, a waste of space that could be more usually utilized for construction or even as environmental and physical hazard. Unquote. It helps us further understand the changing mindset of people. Wells support vast forms of life like people and they recharge the groundwater, giving the trees and the areas around a good water supply. Fishes, turtles and other creatures are also found into the well. Lakes. In metropolitan cities like Bangalore, Mumbai and other cities like Thane, Bhopal, etc., lakes within boundaries of the city and these lakes are at times of an aesthetic value for the community or urban areas, but these are of high importance to maintain the biodiversity and ecological balance. Lakes are not necessarily naturally occurring, but majority of the lakes are man-made and are built to cater to the water needs of the community. In Bangalore, Kempegowda and his successors has built more than 100 lakes, and today there are only a few that are alive and in good state. What happened to these lakes and how important they were in protecting biodiversity? Majority of the lakes gave way to projects like golf courses, parks, fire brigade stations, etc. etc. There is a site which gives you information on Bangalore lakes, and you must visit that site for getting ideas on lakes and what has happened to them. Lakes, being man-made, are today an essential center for environment and the birds and the marine life that it catered to. Flocks of birds and many fishes live on the lake. Many migratory birds stop by the lake for a few days or stop by the lakes for breeding. The lakes are also of high social importance as it supports the cattle and the livestock. Lakes with good fish life have provided support to the local fishing community. Today the Bangalore lakes are fed upon the sewage from neighborhood communities and high amounts of eutrophication also takes place. Belandur Lake is one such example where the foam from the sewage released by the communities around is found on the streets. The lake today stinks day in and day out, but yet the land around the lake and the residential colonies are constantly coming up in the vicinity, which is very highly priced. Rivers. Few urban areas also have rivers that flow within the boundaries of cities. Mumbai, for example, has two rivers that are part of the city, Mithi and Dahisar. Both these rivers have their origins from the lakes that overflow and provide water to these rivers. Both the rivers today have transformed into sewerage nalas or gutters, as the amounts of pollution in both these rivers is very high in a city like Mumbai. Both these rivers at the juncture of the sea have vast areas of mangroves that safeguard the city. Both these rivers are sources of fresh water and fishes. Today, huge lands have been reclaimed from Mithi River and the course of the flow has also changed dramatically. In the floods of 2005, which hit the city, the siltation and the plastic that choked up the river flow were the biggest factors contributing to the floods and increasing the death toll. Similarly, Vapi, the industrial hub of Gujarat, has a river flowing through it, Damanganga, which today is high in toxicity with metals like mercury, which is affecting the biodiversity in the river and further in the sea also. Rivers all through the history were and are an important source of water for drinking and irrigation and lately for power generation also. Rivers provide fishes and other livelihood options for the communities that live around it. The birds that are resident or migratory both find the rivers essential. Let's talk about biodiversity that is found among the urban green patches. Amongst urban green patches, there is a type that is called gardens. Gardens, as discussed in the first module, are the altered and unnatural surroundings where a limited amount of species are found and are highly maintained and controlled. These species have a limited amounts of species that are found there. The gardens are also home to majority of shrubs and ornamental plants, trees and grasses that are non-native and can be maintained easily. The species also cannot live there because there is a constant application of fertilizers and pesticides, as insects and some rodents are an unpleasant sight in the gardens. The botanical gardens are an exception, as in such species, the species are preserved and maintained for the park to be more diverse and better. Parks. Parks, as discussed in the previous modules, can be of various kinds, ranging from national park to zoos, and they can have various kind of biodiversity that they would be home to. These parks also become a link in the human-animal interaction, where the species that are found are a part of study for the people who pay visit to the area. Parks still have traces of human interventions, as in many zoos. There are gardens that are created and maintained, eliminating some species of insects. In amusement parks, the entire system of lakes, waterfalls, fountains, all the systems are artificial and chlorinated, and hence many species cannot sustain in such places. Forests in urban settings have been constantly degrading, but yet a home to a majority of the species that have found a shelter in the forests in the process of urbanization. Also, the forests serve as ideal homes to the plants and animals that could not survive the shock of urbanization. Forests and the biodiversity found in the forests are under threat today because of the increasing urbanization and encroachments. Katas or ashwatthakattes or community spaces. In Indian, plants have been of great importance in religious context and have been used as community spaces. The katas or structures that are built around the native species serve as a home to a number of plants and animals like bats, ants, earthworms, and high number of microorganisms and fungus that grow on the trees. These structures are also important as they also provide spaces for the humans to interact with other species of nature. Let's talk about disappearing species from urban areas. Let's talk about the sparrows first. The sparrows in the cities have been disappearing from the cities and have moved to other species which are less populated and polluted. There are several studies available, and these studies claim that the sparrows that have been living with human settlement, eating the grains, etc., and were found in abundance in the city, but lately the sparrows have been disappearing and only a few species you would find the sparrows in the cities. There are a various range of reasons that affect the sparrows, and with the sparrows many more birds are migrating away from the cities. Urbanization also causes a threat to the birds like vultures, etc. Butterflies and honeybees. With native flowers and other flower producing trees and other plants disappearing, the butterflies and bees are found in limited patches. This affects the gene pool and the species niche. Honeybees have been under constant threat as they are a keystone species and they are affected highly in the cities due to vast number of trees being cut down. Removal of honeycombs and high amounts of chemical use in our day-to-day life has been affecting the honeybees in cities. Though honeybees have been able to adapt to the changes in the urban species, they have adapted themselves to the tall and high-rise buildings which provide home in the balconies, ducts and windows. Yet in all this, the honeybees were and are under constant threat. Amphibians. Within amphibians, let's talk about frogs first. Amphibians are very sensitive to the environmental change, and the differences can be seen in their behavior pattern very easily. It is rare that the frogs are seen in the lake around the cities. They have been moving away from the city center to outskirts and rural areas. There are several reasons for the same, like the pollution in the cities has created skin diseases caused due to the fungus, which is most dreaded infection. If you see frogs around your home in an urban city, means the climate and other required parameters for the frog is suitable to survive there, and also means that we are living in a good environment. There are many more species that have moved away from the cities, many more to be explored. Bats. Bats are the only mammal species in the avian category, and these are highly sensitive to any changes that happen to the surroundings. Urbanization has led to deforestation and also has made it difficult for the bats to survive in such settings. Bats are usually dependent on fruits. When urbanization happens, either the fruit growing plants are cut down and a building comes up, or exotic species of trees and plants are planted. The bats cannot eat the fruits of exotic varieties of trees and also cannot live there. Another hindrance to the bats is the sound and bright lights that the cities have. Lights are a hindrance to the bats when they fly. Bats move on the basis of frequency of the sound that they produce. In bright light and loud sounds of various activity in the urban settings, it becomes difficult for the bats to travel and search for food and survive. Mosquitoes. Not all the species have been affected negatively, but there are many species that flourished in the cities. Mosquitoes is one such example. As the honeybees, mosquitoes have successfully found homes in the cities where they regenerate and affect the cities. Why so? Majority of mosquitoes reproduce in places where there is water available, favorable temperatures due to heat islands, urban sprawl and the capacity of the concrete to maintain heat levels. And cities are ideal spaces as there are constant constructions taking place. There is also water storage in slums which provide good space for the mosquitoes to breed and reproduce and get flourished. Commons and biodiversity. Further understanding of the commons in the module of urban commons, we need to understand the biodiversity and the importance of biodiversity in the urban commons. These species, be it the footpath or gardens, which are spayed and nurtured by the members of communities. Considering the Dahisar River, the patch which flows inside the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, the river is shared and common property there of animals, plants, insects, birds, reptiles, fishes and humans, tribal population living within Sanjay Gandhi National Park. And other people who religiously consider the river sacred. In these commons, it is important to have biodiversity as they are all part of the food chain and depend on them. For example, plants are eaten by insects and herbivores. They are eaten by frogs and carnivores, which are further eaten by snakes and secondary carnivores. This way, the food chain that is found there is interdependent among the species. In all this, humans too are dependent on the river in a large extent. Humans find their food in the form of fishes, crabs, plants, etc. These are not only useful for them for eating, humans also sell this and make the money, and hence it is source of their livelihood. The river is also used as a source of water for bathing, washing and growing vegetables. In such a complex relationship that is shared among the river and other species around them, it is important to have biodiversity maintained in any system. In conclusion, we can say that urbanization has affected biodiversity of the systems that exist in an urban setting and goes on further to pollute the system and make it difficult for any life to sustain, especially in the water bodies. Thank you.